were the greatest classical actors on the English-speaking stage, just as Christopher Plummer is the greatest classical actor today. And listen, I keep telling you, it's all to do with understanding the meaning of the words, the motivation and intention behind them, and also with punctuation, knowing when to run the words on without pause, and when to pause, to breathe. She let the sentence trail off, knowing now was not the right time to give Denise another acting lesson. Returning to the bench, she seated herself, adopted the thinker's position, which was comfortable for her, and sat ruminating for a moment or two. Whatever her friends said, however much praise they lavished on her, Katie knew that her performance was slightly off today. Her concentration was not what it usually was, and she wasn't sure why. Unless it was because she felt guilty at being here this afternoon. Her mother wasn't well, and she was needed at home to help out. And yet, selfishly, she had decided to steal this time at the barn in order to rehearse the speech from Hamlet, and persuaded her friends to come with her after school. Then rehearse, a small voice inside her head instructed. She took several deep breaths, relaxed her throat, let the stillness of the stage envelop her, calm her. Within minutes, she was ready, and she launched herself into Hamlet's soliloquy, her natural self-confidence perfectly in place once more. Listening attentively, Carly was transported by Katie's voice, as she always was. There was a lovely resonance to it, full of nuances and feeling. No wonder, Carly said to herself, thinking of the way Katie practiced, was endlessly training her voice. They all knew how serious she was about acting. Katie was dedicated, disciplined, and very determined to succeed. Somehow, Katie knew how to act the parts she had chosen without having had too many lessons, while Denise and she sort of stumbled along as best they could. Fortunately, they were improving, thanks to Katie's relentless coaching and encouragement. They had first started acting together 7 years ago, 10-year-olds with stars in their eyes. Denise's Uncle Ted had let them make use of the old barn at the far end of his property, and they had created a makeshift theater out of it. At that time, they had made a promise to each other, had vowed they would go to New York one day and start their acting careers in earnest. Making it to Broadway was their big dream. Katie kept promising that the three of them would move to the city once they finished high school, and that eventually they would be stars on the Great White Way. Carly hoped this would come true, that they would have their names in lights. But sometimes she was filled with doubts. Denise had no doubts whatsoever, and as she sat next to Carly, watching Katie on the stage, relishing her performance, she was absolutely positive that their dreams would soon materialize. Katie was brilliant, there was no question, and they themselves were getting better and better, mostly because of Katie's intense lessons. When they went to New York, they would find an apartment to share, go to acting school, and become professional actresses. It was all going to work. The dream would become reality. She was convinced. Katie suddenly stood up, moved downstage right, and continued. To die, to sleep, no more. And by a sleep to say we end the heartache and the 1,000 natural shocks that flesh is heir to. 'Tis a consummation devoutly to be wished. To die, to sleep, perchance to dream. Flawlessly, and without faltering once, Katie went on to complete this most famous of Shakespearean speeches, her well-modulated voice rising and falling as she gave emphasis to certain words, less importance to others. And the quality of her acting was superb. After her initial hesitation, her seeming loss of confidence, she had gone forward sure-footedly. When Katie was finally finished, she remained motionless for a second or two, her cornflower blue eyes still focused in the distance, and then she blinked several times before glancing at